Good evening, good evening. This is your senator and servant, Carla Joseph, welcoming you to another segment of On Point, my radio program heard every other Tuesday from 6 to 6:30 p.m. here on WSDA Lucky 13, the People Station. In the studio with me this evening is my very special guest, a lady I've known for several years, Miss Andrea Shillingford, the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of the Virgin Islands. And as some of you may know, Catholic Charity of the Virgin Islands is a faith-based nonprofit that focuses on assisting the homeless. It is incorporated as a 501c3 organization under the auspices of the Diocese of the St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. Good evening, Ms. Shillingford. How are you doing this evening?
Good evening, Senator Joseph. I am doing wonderfully, and it is indeed a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Hopefully at the end of this session, there will be quite a few people who will be more informed about Catholic Charities and what we do.
Wonderful. Before we go into our discussion, Ms. Shillingford, I wanted to highlight that today is International Women's Day, and in fact, this is Women's Month. And so I want to be able to talk about a very strong lady who I admired for a number of years from a distance, and she hails from that great island, Dominica, and I'm speaking none other than Eugenia Charles, the Prime Minister of Dominica, and she served in that capacity for 15 years, and she is known as the first female Prime Minister, as well as the nation's longest serving Prime Minister and the first woman elected in her own right as head of a government in the Americas. Also, what is very critical about Eugenia Charles, Dame Eugenia Charles, is that she is also Dominica's first female lawyer. She was a trailblazer.
She sure was.
Yes. And so we want to really give kudos to her and all of the service that she's done over the years. She served from July 21st, 1980 until June 14th, 1995. My staff was very good at researching that information for me. I remember when she was elected, and there was a lot of jubilation for her, and she did a lot to move the progress of the island.
Yeah, and she was truly an inspiration to a lot of women. At this right now, there are quite a few female representatives in the parliament in the Dominica Parliament, and I think, you know, growing up as a young girl, you would look at her and say, Lord, I would love to be like her. And I think she inspired a lot of women to go into politics. She inspired a lot of young women to stand up for your rights and be who you are and never stand down.
That's right. And if we fall down, we get right back up. Right back up, because it's critical for us as women to see that the progress of our people, you know, that we are the nurturers of a community, of nations, of families. And for women, it's always critical for us to be able to help pull each other up, pull others up, and move forward and have some level of progress. So I'm really glad that we highlighted her today and On Point. I also want to take the opportunity before we go into our discussion to announce the winner of our second annual Black History Month art competition. It's none other than a sixth grader attending the Bertha C. Buchelter Middle School, Miss Ariel St. Paul. And we will be celebrating with Miss St. Paul and her father tomorrow, giving them a really great token of our appreciation for entering into the competition, as well as doing an award ceremony. So congratulations, Miss St. Paul, and being selected as the winner of the Office of Carla Joseph in conjunction with Joseph Action Committee, Inc., second annual Black History Month art competition. And that was open to only middle school students in the St. Thomas, St. John district. Okay, so tell us a little bit, Ms. Schillingford. We're going to shift it to you now because you're the person I invited. I'm inviting a lot of people who are primarily working in nonprofits, not government entities. So our people can use you as a resource to address critical needs that families may be encountering, individuals may be encountering in our community. Because sometimes the reality is government takes a very long time. And nonprofits, they're able to make things happen quicker. So tell us a little bit about Catholic Charities in Shillingford.
Sorry. Catholic Charities of the Virgin Islands has been serving the Virgin Islands for over 60 years now. And to date, we still stand as the only agency that provides service on the three islands, St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. Our service is geared towards empowering people.
Oh, I like that. I love it.
Yes.
Empowering them.
Empowering people. And one of the things that people don't understand, people look at homeless people and they look at them, and some people look down their noses at them, and what they don't understand is that you should not judge somebody until you know their story.
Yes.
Unless you have walked in that person's shoes, you should never judge them. You don't know what brought the person to that level. And homelessness is not a choice.
It's a reality for a lot of people.
It's a reality for a lot of people, but it's not something that they choose. You never know what has brought that person to that level, what caused the person to fall. Sometimes instead of judging them, just stop for a minute, and people may be amazed at the stories they would hear coming out of some of these people, homeless people that we see less fortunate. And just consider that it could have been you. It only takes one simple incident to bring us to that level. Just imagine, just think about what happened after the storms. There were so many people who lost their homes. And it's now, 4 years since the storms? And we are now really and truly seeing some of the effects of this.
Truly. I was one of those persons who lost my home. And it was rough because we didn't have any place to go. But I'm a person of faith. I just prayed, and God really worked in mysterious ways, and we were able to. But it's not that kind of story with a lot of people, because some people go and live with their family, and the next thing they get into conflicts, and guess what? Their family's telling them to leave, and they become homeless.
And that is exactly what is trending now. The people who were, as we call it, couch surfing, sharing a family's home and living on the couch with their children. Okay, after the storms, I took you in. You've been here now for 4 years. It's time for you to go. Where do I go? And the housing stock on St. Thomas especially is just not there. And it's just not there. The units are just not available. So a lot of people are still stranded.
And we have a lot of buildings and units that are dilapidated, still under construction. I had an opportunity to have worked with a young person, and her family was living with relatives. And because of the pandemic, they started to have a lot of friction, and they practically threw them out because of the pandemic and the fear. It's just fear. Fear of, persons getting infected and dying and the like. And they were working and fixing their homes. Luckily, their home was in a state where they could have moved in, but they're part of the house. So they're still fixing it as they live there. But it was a situation, a very tight and a turbulent situation. And this person was just crying and in tears. She couldn't believe that this was happening, that her family members were practically kicking her parents, her grandparents out of the house because of this pandemic issue, and it was very fearful for her. So yes, homelessness is a real situation here, and we have a lot of homes that needs to be fixed. We need more hands on deck. This is the time for more hands to be on deck with this recovery. People to be able to show up and be able to do the work and get things done.
And a lot of people, one of the things that happened is that a lot of people, after the storm, people went to FEMA, they had the Envision program, and people didn't have the patience to wait. They asked you for so many documents, so much documentation, and people didn't want to wait, and now a lot of them are just left stranded
and in limbo.
In limbo. Nothing is happening for them. So now that we have the pandemic, and Carla, that there's a lot of money flowing.
It is.
There's a lot of money, especially we have the emergency, the
housing choice vouchers.
We have that. We have the emergency rental assistance program, the ERA program. We have submitted, we are one of the intake, Catholic Charities is one of the intake agencies for the ERA program. And in the beginning, we had a lot of, there was a constant, traffic was constant. People were coming in to apply for the ERA. But then I guess word started getting out that I did the application and it took
nothing
is happening. And people, one of the things that I say is that you have waited so long before. Now that something is happening for you, you just wait a while. When they tell you, just, have a little patience and wait a while. It will happen. For example, your utility bills to be paid, and when somebody comes and they tell you my WAPA is going to cut my electricity because I am owing $7,000. As Catholic Charities, that's a lot for us to handle, and we tell you, we have to get a letter from VI Housing Finance Authority to go to WAPA, but then they still have to wait. And the landlords, some of the landlords, you have the people in the apartments for at least 2 years, let's say 2 years, because they lost their jobs because of COVID. And you kept them in the apartment, and now that there's something happening, you're telling them, if you don't pay me by next month, I'm going to evict you. So it's a lot of stress.
It is. We have been under a level of tribulation here, and I don't know what else to call it, in the Virgin Islands. Unlike some regions, because of the storms and 2 back-to-back hurricanes and now the pandemic. I just had a conversation incidentally with a landlord today, and I have to follow up with Housing Finance Authority. She does have a tenant. Her tenant went to Housing Finance Authority, the ERA program, and she has yet to receive any money for the tenant living there. And it must be hard also on the landlords because they have obligations. They're not just there sitting on a pile of money. They also have obligations. They have mortgage, they have other obligations. Yes, and the needs. I always tell, because in my time when I worked in the Housing Authority, and I have grants, get grants and then federal project managers and the like. I tell them most of our people here are very poor, you know. You know, we just make things happen and the like. We put two and two here, you save here, you cut costs here. But we have a very large poor population, and everyone, even if you're making a certain amount of money, you're just one step away from poverty. So we have to look at seeing how we can work together and communicate clearly to move things along, because it's about our people, it's about us as a people, and to get things going. What can we do and to move it along and work with our federal project officers, our federal stakeholders, our local stakeholders of the government, and you as a nonprofit to streamline the process so that the actual people who are in need of the services receive it timely and it doesn't add further anxiety to them, because they have their children just returning now to in-person learning, you know, and now gas prices are going up because of the whole issue with the Ukraine. So we have a lot of anxiety, but I just want to say, for me, my faith is strong. I pray a lot, and we need to start to look at how we can work with each other, communicate respectfully, to know that there is a brighter day. I know your anchor is firm, and so is mine, but there are a lot of people who are going through a level of tribulation and trials because of what we're experiencing. But Catholic Charities, I know, produces a lot of solutions for our people. Yeah. And you just mentioned one of the things. Let's talk about your soup kitchen that you offer, and then your summer camp that is coming up. Those are bright lights.
The summer camp that we do is a summer camp for children with intellectual disabilities.
Beautiful.
These are children who would love to go to summer camp. They see other children going to summer camps and nothing was happening for them. So we've been doing that for years now. You bring them in, it's a sports camp, and the children enjoy it. They come and they meet their peers, and it's a 3-week camp where they come, they do basketball. Their favorite thing is swimming.
Oh, beautiful. I love
swimming. That's their favorite thing. They love the swimming.
And where do you take them to learn to swim? Megan's Bay. What a wonderful place for them.
We take them to Megan's for swimming. And the camp before the camp was at Cancrine, but now it's up at Lockhart.
Okay, good. What about your elderly programs? And that's one of the things and areas that really tugs at my heartstring. The young people and the elders.
Before we would assist a few elderly people, but after the storm, when we realized that there were so many elderly people left alone because children got up and left to go to the mainland, and they
Lord have mercy,
their elderly parents home. And can you imagine, as let's say 75-year-old who depended on your daughter to prepare your meals, and then all of a sudden that was just cut off from.
Wow.
So right now we serve lunch daily to maybe about 36 elderly people.
Are they mostly members from the Catholic Church, or is it a diverse group?
It's
How do you get to participate in that feeding?
Actually, it's like, I think it's word of mouth.
Oh, okay.
People, they say, oh, I saw Catholic Charities vehicle delivering food to this person next door, but there's somebody across the street who also needs a meal. So that's how it comes, that kind of way it comes in. So, and you don't have to be. When you come to our doors, Senator Joseph, we don't ask you. One of the questions that we will never ask is what religion you belong to.
Oh, praise God.
No. We don't want to know that. We don't, because you don't have to be Catholic first to serve you.
Beautiful.
And a lot of our clients, I would say the majority of our clients are non-Catholics.
Okay.
So we serve anybody who comes to the door. We do the rental assistance program. We provide a rental assistance for maybe, depending on the situation, it might be the first month's rent or the first month and the deposit to get the person into their apartment. And we work very closely with Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority.
So how can a person get in contact with Catholic Charities? What can they do to get in contact with Catholic Charities?
Our website is www.catholicharitiesvi.org.
And that's www.catholicharitiesvi.org. You know, some of our most needy people in our community are not computer savvy. They still use the old school phones. Yes.
340-777-8518. 340-777-8518. And that number can connect you to the 3 islands.
Okay, beautiful. And for our listening audience, if you want to call in to the show tonight, we only have a few minutes still. The time is running. You can contact us here at WSDA at 774-1340, 774-1340, or you could contact me on my cell, which is 340-423-4139. That's my cell, 340-423-4139. That's my office cell. If you have any questions for Ms. Shillingford or myself. Now, tell me about this other major issue, your outreach to persons in need of mental health. How are you working with that area?
We work with that. We do that through the Project for Assistance in Transition from Homelessness program that is through the Department of Health. And we take the meals out to them because these are people who will not come to the soup kitchen. So we take the meals out to them. The case managers will go. And one of the things that I really love about my staff is that they form this kind of is a relationship with the clients, and they build that trust, the trust with the clients. The clients learn to trust them, and that's why sometimes other agencies may want to communicate with a client, one of the clients, and they will call us, can you go with me so that we can find this person or talk to this person, and because the clients trust our staff. So they will go, they take clothes to them. We have, sometimes it's a joke, we make a joke of it, and because you will hear the staff saying, oh, no, you cannot have this. This is for my client, that's for my boyfriend over there. That's for my girlfriend. Come on, you cannot have this one. That's for them. And we are able to, to put it simply, we enjoy our clients.
Right, and you enjoy the work.
We enjoy the work, and we enjoy.
And do you have them as part of an extension of your family and what you do, so that they feel comfortable and secure coming to you?
Definitely.
And you're non-judgmental. And that's what is needed in a lot of the type of social services that we provide persons to be, in any aspect, to be non-judgmental, to be there to provide the support and the guidance, and to show them
they need.
Yes, and to show them that you care and you love them, nonetheless. Yes. So if you know someone in need of some of the services that we have been talking and discussing about this evening on Point, that Catholic Charities provides, which includes their soup kitchen, their healthcare for the homeless, the summer camp for young people with disabilities, also the rental assistance, the utility assistance, and the outreach for the mental health needs of individuals as well as elderly program. Please give Catholic Charities a call at 340-777-8518. or you can contact them at www.catholicharitiesvi.org. And we again speaking to Ms. Andrea Shillingford, Executive Director of Catholic Charities Virgin Islands.
And I think, one of the Bethlehem House Shelter, that is our signature program. And Bethlehem House Shelter is a safe environment. We try as much as possible. We have people on staff who are compassionate, who understand the needs of the clients, and we try as much as possible to make it a safe, clean environment for anybody who needs emergency shelter.
I have a story of one of my former students, the program I manage, which was a program for at-risk, underserved, disadvantaged young people. And he was a resident of Bethlehem House. Today, he is doing so fantastic. And that's a blessing. He completed our program successfully. He went on to get employment and work in building the senior development behind the hospital, now known as the Celestino White Senior Development. He relocated to the States. He worked at FedEx, and they named him Employee of the Month. And this was in 2017. This was in the early part of 2017. I was like, what? Isn't that a transformation? And all he needed is what you said,
Yeah,
a safe, comfortable place to lay his head and to complete his education.
And that is what we try to provide.
Yes, and you did. You did a really awesome job. I'm hoping that he'll look at this Facebook feed and know who I'm talking to, talking about. I won't call his name, but he did such a great job. I was like, wow, I can't believe it. I think he also got his certification to be one of those commercial drivers in the States too. I mean, he just kept moving because people had judged him and written him off, and he said, no, all I needed a safe place, what you described for Bethlehem House, and to be able to lift myself up and be, as you mentioned, empowered. Not to give a handout, but to empower you so you can be responsible and get back on your feet. And that's what Catholic Charities provide. We are almost at the end of our show. It's just 30 minutes. And is there any other information you want to share, Ms. Shillingford, about Catholic Charities and the really great work that you're doing in the Virgin Islands as a whole?
We do the medical clinic for the homeless on the second Saturday of every month. So we have a clinic coming up this Saturday. It's at the Bethlehem House Shelter, and we have some of the best doctors who come in, volunteer their time and service, and they provide the best medical care to our clients. So if anybody out there knows anybody who is homeless and needs medical attention, you can bring that person to Bethlehem House on Saturday morning. The doctors will be there. We start taking registration from about 8 o'clock, and the doctors come in from 9. So please, if you know anybody, any homeless person who needs medical attention, and I know there are many of them, we cannot pick up everybody. If anybody out there knows a homeless person, please bring them to Bethlehem House or call us 340-777-8518.
And what time are the doctors going to be there? From 9 a.m.
Yes.
Until what time?
They would usually stay there until they see the last client.
Okay, beautiful. Oh, that is so good. So remember, if you know a homeless person, please take them to Bethlehem House this coming Saturday, To register, you need to be there at 8 a.m. and then you'll be seen by the doctors at 9 a.m. This has been a very informative show. I just want the listening audience to know that they can contact my office, 340-693-3515 if you have any questions, and look us up at Facebook at Senator Carla Joseph, and also check out my website, senatorcarlajoseph.com, and you can always email me at senatorcarlajoseph@ledgevi.org. I want to say a wonderful thank you for you, Ms. Shillingford, to joining us here this evening for On Point, and to my staff, as well as to the Joseph Action Committee members.